Study Session 8 Learning Disabilities. Introduction. In this lecture, you will be exposed to the concept of learning disability, causes and diagnosis, as well as the discrepancy, issues involved, and the subtypes. Learning disability is not a specific term. It is a category containing many specific disabilities, all of which cause learning to be difficult. The following definition of learning disability is used for legislative, financial, and educational purposes only. The term learning disability means a disorder in one or more of the basic processes involved in understanding spoken or written language. It may show up as a problem in listening, thinking, speaking, reading, writing, or spelling, or in a person's ability to do maths, despite at least average intelligence. The term does not include children who have learning problems, which are primarily the result of visual, hearing, or physical handicaps or mental retardation, or emotional disturbance, or of environmental, cultural, or economic disadvantage. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Define learning disability. 2. Describe its symptoms, causes, and subtypes. 3. Explain the discrepancy issues involved in learning disability. Content. Definition of learning disabilities. Despite federal regulations, the definition of learning disabilities is controversial. The U.S. government defines a specific learning disability as a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding or use of spoken or written language, which may be manifest as an inability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations. While the definition could include the conditions of perceptual handicaps, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, dyslexia, and developmental aphasia, it is not applicable to students whose learning problems are the result of visual, hearing, or motor handicaps, mental retardation, emotional disturbance, or environmental or cultural disadvantage. The major premise is that a significant discrepancy exists between the child's potential and her actual level of academic or language skills. Each state, however, may determine cutoffs for discrepancies or definitions of processing disorders, leading to variability among states and even differences among districts within a given state. The definition and diagnosis of an LD vary, depending on whether the purpose is to qualify for services or to clinically identify the reason for a child's poor academic performance. In the former, measurement of intelligence and levels of achievement is employed. In the latter, administration of IQ and achievement is extended to include evaluation of attention, memory, and neuropsychological function. Moreover, the age of identification varies, depending on the type of LD. Some may not be apparent early because academic skills in areas affected by the LD have not yet been challenged. The psychiatric definition of LDs, as found in the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-IV, differs considerably from both federal and state classification systems. Adding further to the ambiguity, learning disabilities are presumed to be due to central nervous system dysfunction and occurs across the lifespan. They reportedly occur more in males, although research in the late 1990s by Sally Shewitz has disputed this contention. Official definition of learning disabilities adopted by the Learning Disabilities Association of Canada in January 30, 2002 states that learning disabilities refer to a number of disorders which may affect the acquisition, organization, retention, understanding, or use of verbal or nonverbal information. These disorders affect learning in individuals who otherwise demonstrate at least average abilities essentially for thinking and/or reasoning. As such, learning disabilities are distinct from global intellectual deficiency. Learning disabilities result from impairments in one or more processes related to perceiving, thinking, remembering, or learning. These include, but are not limited to, language processing, phonological processing, visual spatial processing, processing speed, memory, and attention, and executive functions, e.g. planning and decision making. Learning disabilities range in severity and may interfere with the acquisition and use of one or more of the following. 1. Oral language, e.g. listening, speaking, understanding. 2. Reading, e.g. decoding, phonetic knowledge, word recognition, comprehension. 3. Written language, e.g. spelling and written expression. And 4. Mathematics, e.g. computation, problem solving. Learning disabilities may also involve difficulties with organizational skills and social perception, social interaction, and perspective taking. Learning disabilities are lifelong. The way in which they are expressed may vary over an individual's lifetime, depending on the interaction between the demands of the environment and the individual's strengths and needs. Learning disabilities are suggested by unexpected academic underachievement or achievement, which is maintained only by unusually high levels of effort and support. For success, individuals with learning disabilities require early identification and timely specialized assessments and interventions involving home, school, community, and workplace settings. The interventions need to be appropriate for each individual's learning disability, subtype, and at a minimum include the provision of 1. Specific skill instruction. 2. Accommodations. 3. Compensatory strategies. And 4. Self-advocacy skills. Learning disabilities, causes, and diagnosis. With regard to causes, research extends to family, genetic, and neuroanatomic basis, with most work being done in language and reading disabilities. There appears to be heritability in language and reading, LDs with similar LDs, being found in 35% to 45% of first-degree relatives. Also, identical twins are more likely to have similar LDs than fraternal twins. Chromosomes 6 and 15 have been implicated frequently as possible genetic causes of LDs. Neuroimaging techniques such as functional magnetic resonance imaging have documented differences among dyslexic and non-reading disabled individuals. Studies have found that in individuals with dyslexia, certain areas of the brain are different from those individuals without dyslexia. Nonetheless, there are no neuroanatomic or neuroelectric diagnostic tests that identify LDs in the brain. Although LDs are found more frequently in children subject to brain insult, such as premature birth and asphyxia, many children display LDs without any identifiable cause. Learning disabilities, the discrepancy issue. The discrepancy issue has been established as the primary criterion for identifying children with LDs. Unfortunately, discrepancy formulae are controversial, potentially inaccurate, and inappropriate for detecting cognitive deficits. There are 3 types of discrepancy formulae. With an aptitude achievement discrepancy, a disparity exists between a child's intellectual ability, as measured by an intelligence test, and his actual level of academic achievement, measured by an achievement test. Certain LDs, e.g., short-term memory problem or central processing dysfunction, however, may also affect a child's performance on IQ tests, thereby reducing the discrepancy between aptitude and achievement. This discrepancy model is useful from 3rd grade onward, and certain disabilities, such as fine motor dyspraxia, retrieval memory dysfunction, and organization problems, often are not detected. Children with the most severe LDs frequently have the smallest discrepancy. An intracognitive discrepancy, a disturbance in basic psychological process, occurs in children who have a specific type of cognitive dysfunction, such as a deficit in auditory processing, short-term memory, or visual processing. This type of LD is difficult to operationalize, but is useful in identifying preschool and primary age children who have learning problems. An intra-achievement discrepancy reflects divergence or inconsistency in educational achievement performances. This could occur between academic areas, such as reading versus mathematics, or within an academic area, such as marked difference between reading, decoding, and reading comprehension. Regression models, which attempt to correct the problems inherent in discrepancy comparisons, are used in many states. Here, a statistical relationship between IQ and achievement is considered, allowing for equal probability of identification of an LD across IQ levels, thereby potentially enhancing identification rates. Research in the 1990s, however, failed to demonstrate valid differences on school-related measures between poorly achieving groups of students with an IQ achievement discrepancy and those with poor school performance with no discrepancy. Learning disabilities. Learning disabilities subtypes. There are many different subtypes of learning disabilities. Byron Rook, writing in 1993, reported 3 major groupings. 1. Reading and spelling. 2. Arithmetic. And 3. Reading, spelling, arithmetic. Larry Silver, also writing in 1993, suggested a model that includes input disabilities, that is visual or perceptual, auditory or perceptual, and sensory integrative disabilities, sequencing, abstraction and organization, memory disabilities, and output disabilities, language and motor. Reading, spelling disabilities are by far the most prevalent form, with such disabilities estimated to comprise from 5% up to 17% of the child and adolescent population. Estimates for the occurrence of disorder of written expression range from 2% to 8%, although learning disabilities such as dyslexia can be caused by premature birth or asphyxia at a younger age. In other cases, the direct cause of a learning disability is not known. Ellen B. Sanisi, photo researcher. The prevalence of arithmetic LDs ranges from 1% to 6%. It is not clear whether weak mathematics performance is due to the quality of instruction or an actual LD. Non-verbal LDs are often overlooked, occur less frequently than reading disorders, and are characterized by problems in arithmetic computation, graphomotor skills, reading comprehension, math reasoning, science, complex concept formation, visual memory, and social behavioral skills. These are often found in children with white matter disorder and are assumed to be more right hemisphere based. As of late 1990s, a classification schema based on written disability / dyslexia research was applied to all achievement domains included in federal and state definitions of LD. 3 major types of LDs were identified: specific language impairment, specific reading disability or dyslexia, and specific math disability. The area of the greatest knowledge in reading disorders. This falls into 2 main groupings: phonological, that is, dysphonetic, and orthographic, dyseidetic. The former is more prevalent and is characterized by deficits in decoding and word analysis, which guesses made based on the initial letter of the word, and misspellings being phonetically inaccurate. Shewitz wrote in 1998 that a deficit in basic phonemic awareness, that is, inability to segment phonemes, the smallest unit of sound, into phonological units, is the underlying cause in virtually all cases of dyslexia. The orthographic reading disability subtype involves an inability to develop a memory for the whole word, Gestalt, with visual spatial reversal occurring, e.g., was read as saw, and misspellings being phonetically accurate. There is also a mixed reading disorder, which consists of characteristics found in both types of deficit. The major new finding is that reading disabilities are more strongly associated with auditory rather than visual deficits. Summary. In this lecture, we have examined learning disability, the causes, diagnosis, and subtypes. Specifically, we defined the concept and also discussed them comprehensively for easy reading. End of study session 8. Thank you for listening.